The old Elks at Tillamook and Williams. Not too long ago, this building was falling into some serious disrepair, and they really fixed it up nice, but it looks like they're having to do maybe a little bit more work on it. But yeah, this building was falling apart not too many years ago, and now it's looking pretty nice. And it's a good little intro for today's video. So I am in northeast Portland. I'm kind of on the border between the two, because today I want to take you to a few locations that are prominent to Portland's Black Panther history, which, you know, a lot of people that don't pay much attention to history or don't know much about old Portland history, we had a Black Panther Party chapter. That almost rolled off the tongue wrong. I said blah blah. So, and they were very active in this particular area because this was the primary location of Portland's black community due to red lighting policies dating back to the start of the 1920s. And there's lots of little spots, and in pretty much all these cases, the structures that were being used are no longer around, so we just have the locations to go to. Another example of that history kind of fading away. It's an important history to remember, and every time I have the opportunity to bring out the past history of this particular area, I try to do it. So that is our purpose, that is our objective today, is I'm going to take you to some of these locations. So to get things started, we're going to squeeze our way through all this foliage. And I'm walking on, this is Sacramento Street. I'm walking, the next intersection is Sacramento and Williams Avenue was kind of the main thoroughfare for Portland's black community back in the day. That was where, you know, a lot of the business were, a lot of the entertainment was. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, which was Union Avenue at the time, which is behind me, the opposite direction of where I'm going now, you know, had a lot of, you know, commerce as well, but it didn't have the life that Williams Avenue had. And so Portland's, as I understand it, Portland's Black Panther chapter really took off after the 1969 riots, which it was a small riot. In 1970, they opened a dental clinic. It was called the Malcolm X Dental Clinic at 2341 North Williams, which is right where this little funeral home building is today. I'm not certain that the dental clinic was in this particular building. This building certainly predates 1970, I can tell just by the architecture. But there could have been another building right here or right there that they were in. But approximately where this funeral home is, at the intersection of Williams and Sacramento, this is where the Malcolm X Dental Clinic was first located. Now, it did ultimately relocate, but we don't have to go very far to get to where it was relocated. So with the original clinic being right there, where that gray building is, when they relocated to Russell Street, which is right here. And they would have only been, I believe, about 2 blocks down this way. And this is where they relocated, and as far as I know, of all the places I'm going to today, this is the only spot where the building they used is actually still there. Now again, it was called the Malcolm X Dental Clinic, and then OHSU took possession of the building, which I read in an article, like they literally took possession. They took it over and kicked their dental clinic out now, but they have a dental clinic here now, so it's pretty easy to discern what building it is because it just says OHSU Dental Clinic. Yeah, so yeah, it's not even 2 full blocks down, but you'll see on the little signboard here, it's 214 North Russell, OHSU Dental Clinic. And 214 North Russell just happened to be the address when they relocated the Malcolm X Dental Clinic. So it was in this, get out of here, fly. So it was in this building for several years, I would think. Here, I guess it's technically at Russell and Flint. So yeah, this is the only one, again, as far as I know, where the building in question is still here. And as I understand it, the clinic was here till 1980, when OHSU took over and like literally kicked them out. Now, what's interesting and convenient for me is our next location is almost diagonal from this, in the open field here between Williams down there and Vancouver here along Russell Street, kind of near the intersection here, which would be the northeast corner of Vancouver and Russell. There was an old two-story building here. The big buildings along Hill Block kind of stretch most of the way down here, and then right about here is where this little two-story building was. And there was another business working out of there for a while, but ultimately the Fred Hampton People's Free Clinic was located here. So another place to get, your health needs met. If, people didn't have a lot of money and needed help with medical assistance, they had the clinic to go to here, or if they needed specifically dental work, they could go right here. Did this house burn down? Sorry, side note, I just now noticed that. I don't know what, God, I hope not. It looks like it though. But yeah, in this little beat up building at this corner is where the Fred Hampton People's Free Clinic was kept. It was at 109 North Russell Street. Opened in January 1970. So only a couple months, I believe, after the Black Panther Party in this city actually started. So yeah, based on the imagery, because the image, one of the main images I've seen was taken from just a little ways that way of the building, which would have been right here. And you can see that I think there was like a tire shop right here at one time. But yeah, right here is where the building would have been. Again, it just kind of a beat up old building. Had other businesses in there at one time, but if you look at the picture and zoom in particularly into the business front that's to the right side of the building, or in our case, the east side of the building, which, yeah, it would have been probably, not right at the intersection, but probably somewhere between about here to about here-ish. But yeah, if you line up that kind of the right portion of the building with a particular picture taken showing the entryway into that health clinic, you can see that the structure lines up perfectly. You've got the low wall with the big window and then the door just to the right of that. So that's how you can really tell that that was the building. But yeah, those are the three primary spots that are related to particular medical clinics that were opened. And this is actually perfect. There's a project that's been done. I believe it's called the Historic Black Williams Project, where all these things related to Portland's Black history are placed along Williams Avenue here. And actually there's two. There's a sign there and this in relation to Portland's Black Panther history. So you have reference the free children's breakfast program at Highland United Church of Christ. I'm going to be going there for this video. And there's the reference, 2341, reference to the dental clinic. Yeah, here's the story I brought to you earlier about Kent Ford. And he announced that Portland chapter starting, Portland was starting a chapter of Black Panther Party. Yeah, and then there's a picture of the health clinic at 109 Russell, over at the end of that block there. And then there's also this sign as well. All power to the people. And I believe that's Kent Ford right there. Yeah, Black Panther Party was quite active in Portland, having both dental and health clinics, providing community education and activism. At the height of their free breakfast program, over 10,000 children were served. Many current programs are based on those they started. Yeah, and as I understand it, Kent Ford, because I think he's pushing 80 now, but Kent Ford would sometimes do, a couple times a year, he would do tours, like showing people kind of generally what I'm showing you right now. I'm certain he knows a lot more places of significance than I would. But that's cool. So they have a sign here, and then that big tile there, here at Russell and Williams Avenue. All right, so we're a little bit northeast of where we were before. I'm approaching, this is Fremont and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard here. And I just want to say, I saw two different addresses given for locations where the Black Panthers had their offices that were pretty much one block apart. Now, I don't know if that's accurate or if someone got the information wrong in their resources. One resource I read, which was it's like a journal article on it, said that the Panthers had a headquarters at 3619 Union. But the Oregon Historical Database that I use showed that there used to be a building at 3819, one block north on Union. So I don't know if somebody mixed up the 8 and the 6 there, or if they just happen to have offices at both those addresses. So if somebody knows, feel free to clarify that for me in the comments. Because that's what I saw, and I know that there were 4 different locations that were used as offices, I'm gonna show both of those locations. So right here, kind of in this, not this fenced off lot, but this lot over here is 3619. What would have been Union Avenue, which according to a written piece that was focused specifically on Portland's Black Panther history, it's there was a building kind of right next to this building that's there. That was where they said that was the address of Black Panther headquarters. But if you cross Beach Street here and go about a block up just before Failing, that's where the historical database has a marker that says that's where an office for the Black Panthers was located. So again, I don't know if both locations were offices or if just somebody got their details a little bit wrong, making you miss it by half a block. And that space, the 3819, is right here where this lot is. So this is where the historical database says that it was located. I'm not dead certain exactly if that is the case. There's a real nice mural on the wall here too that almost makes me wonder. But yeah, apparently this was also a site for their headquarters, a building that's now been demolished. So my plan is to finish at the church where the children's breakfast program was, but on my way there, I've got another location to pass. Right here, this is where the gray building was, which I'm going to be doing a more intensive video about, but it used to be here, right in this little spot, and got demolished a while back, unfortunately. A prominent family, the Gray family, lived in that building. It's where it got its historical name. It's where the Burger Barn was, site of the infamous possum incident. And you go up here, the next road up, this is McLaughlin. This is MLK and Schaefer. This was the kind of center starting point for one of the riots back in the 60s. And the Gray building was, you know, right over there. And it was, you know, by the 2010s, it was this tiny little shack. It had some eateries in it, but it had been sitting vacant for a long time. It was kind of falling apart. And I've always said, I wish it could have been turned into like a museum of some kind for like Oregon Black history. I just recently did one of my rambling videos. I did a rambling episode specifically about the Gray building because I want to do a more intensive video on it, but not after I find just a little bit more information. But yeah, that's just something that I really think is cool about this history, because I've heard, I know in the information that Restore Oregon had up on it, because they were trying to save it, they said that the Black Panthers had a connection to that building. It always had Black history tied to it, but what the Black Panthers connection to it, if there was one, I'm not sure. I just saw that in a blip that it had prominence to that. And there it is, right next to where some of the riots happened, and just right up a little bit further on up the street from where the these again, presuming the addresses are correct, these offices that were, or they were like kind of the Black Panthers headquarters. And their first headquarters were at the southeast corner of Union and Cook, which was just a little bit south from where those two offices were. And I got some video footage. I took a whole bunch of video footage in this area when I was planning on doing a more immersive Albina history production. So one of the places I got video footage of was that location, which there's just, you know, another big tall building now. Well, here we go. More destruction. This looks like it's like a small apartment complex that could probably provide pretty good housing for people that are in desperate need of it. But of course they're going to tear it down and build something else big that no one can afford to live in. Never stops. But anyway, the last location I'm heading towards now is the vicinity of Northeast 9th and Going. So I'm almost where I need to be, and I just realized when I said the dental office building was the only place still standing, I forgot that they used a church for their children's breakfast program, which they fed. I saw on one of the plaques along Williams Avenue that they fed some like 10,000 children using that program. And they did it out of the Highland United Church of Christ at 4635 Northeast 9th Avenue, which that church is still here today on the northwest corner of the intersection right here. This is where that food program took place. It's a beautiful church. Yeah, so it's at 9th and Going. I don't know if I got that right. All these many years later, with the food program starting, you know, the early 70s, this church still looks gorgeous. And that there is my last stop on this little trek. Obviously, the Black Panthers, primarily during the 1970s, had massive significance in this area. There's probably hundreds of locations that are prominent to them or have some connection to them historically. I just took you to some of the bigger ones today, and some of the few that I actually, like, you can easily find the information in terms of where they were located, since so many of these locations are no longer around. So I just wanted to show you some of those in relation to Portland's Black Panther chapter, because, you know, if you're in other parts of the country, if you're on the East Coast, you might not even know that they had a chapter out here. which they did. And they did a lot of great things for the community, which of course, you know, by the rest of the city, the white part of the city, which is most of it, we are in Portland, you know, that stuff either went completely ignored, unappreciated, or on the more political side of things, how could you give these, you know, just give these kids free breakfasts? That's communism. That was a legitimate claim that some of our more regrettable and more worthy to forget politicians and, you know, certain people of years past would say about things like that, providing food for the children. What a horrible thing. So a lot of good was done in this town, and most of the people outside of this community either didn't know about it or didn't appreciate it. And as I've always said, especially about the history of this area going back, it's a history that deserves to be remembered and a history that deserves to be preserved, especially as we're seeing more physical elements of that history going unpreserved and, in fact, being torn down or forgotten or cast aside in a city where the politicians talk so much about how we're such a liberal oasis and we embrace diversity and cultural awareness, and then turn a deaf ear when places of historical significance get torn down, like the Gray Building, like these places that housed Black Panthers headquarters, like the Blanchet House in north of downtown over by Union Station, which used to be called the Yamaguchi Hotel and is one of the few remaining real solid relics of Portland's Japanese history. And another instance where nobody seems to really care about saving it. So if I can't preserve it physically, I try to find another way to preserve it. So thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're a Portlander or going to visit Portland, hopefully I just showed you a few places of historical significance to visit. And if you're new to the channel or haven't gotten around to it, please like, share, subscribe, all those things that help a small channel grow. I also have a Patreon if you want to help me out there. I'm trying to help that grow. And that link, or the link to that, is in the description with this video, as well as the links to my Instagram, Facebook, Reddit subreddit, and my TikTok. And all that said, one more time, thank you so much. It is starting to get very warm out here. But until next time, this has been Steve the Amateur Historian.